Have you ever felt something invisible watching you but couldn't explain why? What if your so-called oversensitivity is actually a divine weapon? There's a hidden army awakening, and your soul might be hearing the call. Have you ever walked into a room and without anyone saying a word, felt a weight in the air as if something invisible was there watching you? Have you ever looked into a person's eyes and known without logical explanation that there was something wrong, something dark? Maybe you've spent your whole life thinking you were just too sensitive. But what if this sensitivity is actually a rare spiritual gift, a gift reserved for those chosen by God? The Bible is full of hidden mysteries, forgotten gifts, and revelations that are not understood by most. But some, the separated, the marked, the chosen, feel in their spirit what cannot be seen with their eyes. The discernment of spirits is one of these gifts. He is silent but powerful. It's discreet but relentless, and many carry it without even knowing that they have been activated by God to see beyond the veil of this world. Do you feel like you see what no one else sees? Who notices hidden intentions, charged environments, empty words and presences that no one comments on? Have you ever found yourself feeling chills, discomfort, or even deep peace just being around someone, even before any conversation begins? These signs are no coincidence, and they're definitely not crazy. Spiritual discernment does not come with a manual or warning. He awakens in the pain, in the loneliness, in the silent spiritual struggle that many face from an early age. Maybe you've been rejected, misunderstood, called weird. Maybe you grew up hearing that it was exaggerated, dramatic, weird. But what if all this was a sign of a dormant gift from a hidden mission? Those chosen by God tend to bear marks from an early age. A childhood of conflicts, a youth of restlessness, a lifetime of feeling like they don't belong. This is not weakness. This is divine separation. It's as if heaven is preparing you for something greater and silently activating in you a spiritual capacity that few will understand. Those who have the gift of discernment are not just intuitive. They are like spiritual sentinels capable of detecting the invisible, identifying attacks before they happen, protecting environments, people, and purposes. This is why you feel tired around certain people. This is why you wake up at night for no apparent reason or have dreams that are so vivid they seem real. This is why you feel the energy shift when someone enters the room. Do you have the gift of discerning spirits? This question may scare you, or maybe it brings unexpected relief, as if for the first time someone is putting into words what you've always felt, but never knew how to explain. And that is the mark of the chosen ones. They carry gifts that cannot be taught, only awakened. The Word of God talks about this in 1 Corinthians 12. Paul describes the gifts of the Spirit, and among them is the discernment of spirits. This gift is not popular. It is not displayed in pulpits. It's not easy to understand. But it is essential in the times we live in, because the spiritual world is at war and the chosen ones are being activated. If you feel like you are being called to something you don't yet understand, if you sense when something is wrong, if you notice signs, voices, shadows, or lights where no one else does, then maybe this video is more than an explanation. Maybe he is an awakening. Because the gift you carry can change not just your life, but the lives of many around you. Maybe you've never told anyone this, but there are people who barely enter a room, and something in you freezes, a sudden discomfort, pressure in the chest, a feeling of alertness. They smile, they are polite, sometimes even kind, but something doesn't click. You feel an immediate discomfort, as if your soul is saying, this person is not what they seem. And the most curious thing, often after a while, the truth comes out. That mask falls off. The hidden intention reveals itself, and you remember exactly the feeling you had at the beginning. This is not common intuition. It's not judgment, this is spiritual. Your spirit is discerning what the eyes cannot see. And this is one of the first signs that you carry the gift of discernment of spirits, a gift that chosen by God. They often manifest it even without knowing it, because God doesn't expect you to understand everything. He just equips you even in silence, even in pain. And that same gift that makes you perceive people also manifests itself in places. Do you know when you enter a room and it feels like the air is heavy? There is no one shouting. There is no visible mess, but something there suffocates you. It's as if the atmosphere is contaminated. Sometimes it's a house, others a hospital, a school, or even a temple. And then you feel, I need to get out of here. You don't understand exactly why, but the body reacts. The soul tightens. The spirit screams. This type of reaction is typical of spiritually sensitive people. But more than that, it is typical of those who carry a spiritual mission. Spiritually, charged environments affect you more. Not because you are weak, but because you have been set apart, chosen. You have the role of identifying what is hidden, protecting what is sacred, and discerning what is invisible to human eyes. It is not strange that often those chosen are also those who suffer the most emotionally. Because feeling too much, perceiving too much, carrying invisible burdens, all of this is heavy, but the weight is proportional to the mission. Another striking sign you can tell when someone is lying. It's not because the person stumbled over their words. It's not because you analyzed her body language. It's because something inside you screams. It's as if your spirit feels the breaking of the truth, even when the lie is well constructed. Even when the intention is disguised, something inside you stirs. And then comes the question, am I being paranoid? But time always responds. Sooner or later the truth comes out and you realize what your soul already knew. This is discernment, a gift given by God to walk with spiritual clarity in a world full of deception. The Bible says that in the last days there would be many wolves in sheep's clothing, and that is why the spiritual gifts are being activated. This is why so many are awakening without understanding exactly what is happening. That's why you're here listening to this now. The gift of discernment of spirits does not come to make you superior, but to keep you protected, to give you wisdom in times of deceit, to free you from traps disguised as opportunities, to keep you away from people who have sweet words but bitter intentions. This happens a lot with the chosen ones. You attract hurting, needy, manipulative people, and you feel like you need to save them. But at the same time, something in you doesn't relax, doesn't trust, doesn't surrender. This is the Holy Spirit warning you, be careful. Not everything that looks like light comes from God. This is why you feel drained after certain conversations. This is why you avoid crowds. That's why you prefer silence, nature, connection with the high. The world is too noisy for those who have spiritual gifts. And when the gift is discernment, everything becomes even more intense because you're not just seeing the world. You are seeing the spiritual world manifest around you all the time. Many people who carry this gift have spent their lives doubting themselves. They were called crazy, exaggerated, difficult, and for fear of being judged, they learned to remain silent. But let me tell you something. What you feel is real. What you perceive is real. What bothers you has a spiritual reason. You are not alone on this journey. Have you ever had that feeling of immediate discomfort around someone? Have you ever walked into a place and wanted to run away for no reason? Have you ever heard beautiful words that seemed false, even though everyone believed them? Right here, let's transform this space into an altar of revelations in a place of healing for the chosen. Because what comes next will make you understand even more about this gift that God has entrusted to you. Maybe you've never connected one thing to another, but there are times when your body responds before. Your mind even understands a seemingly normal place, but you start to feel bad. The head feels heavy. A chill runs up the spine. An inexplicable pain appears in the back of the neck or forehead. There's no noise, there's no fighting, there's no confusion. But there's something there. Something that is not physical. Something that most don't realize, but you feel it as if your soul detected an invisible presence. A strange energy. A spirit that shouldn't be there. Many have chosen by God report this, not as an isolated episode, but as a silent constant in their lives. Feel the spiritual weight in the air, capture invisible charges, and because they don't know what it is, many end up blaming themselves, thinking that they have emotional problems or that they are somatizing stress. But what if it's actually your spirit warning you? And if this discomfort is a spiritual sign, what if this is part of the gift? Spiritual discernment does not just happen in thoughts, it also manifests itself in the body, because the body of someone who is spiritual becomes a sensitive antenna, a vibrational radar. When the environment is spiritually heavy, whether due to the presence of spirits, negative influence, hidden sin, or dense energy, your body reacts. And the closer you get to your spiritual mission, the more sensitive you become. This is part of the awakening of spiritual gifts us chosen. How many times have you tried to ignore this feeling and then regretted it? How many times have you become sick after being in certain places? How many times have you felt weak, as if you had been sucked in even without making any physical effort? This is no coincidence, that's it. Discernment of spirits manifesting itself in physical form. God is training you. It's showing you that your sensitivity is not weakness. It's a prophetic tool. And it doesn't stop there, because many chosen ones also have another clear sign. Dreams and visions that come true. Maybe you've dreamed about someone, and days later something happened to them. Maybe you dreamed of an accident, a fight, a change, and everything came true exactly as you saw it. Or maybe you see faces, places, phrases, and then as if in déjà vu, everything happens, and you ask yourself, how did I know this? Why did this come to me? The answer lies in the spiritual world. The answer is in your gift. In the Bible, dreams have always been a channel of revelation. Joseph, Daniel, John in Revelation all received spiritual messages through dreams. Because God speaks to those who have ears to hear, but it also speaks to those who have a spirit willing to receive. And the gift of discernment is often intertwined with the gift of revelation. Many who have discernment of spirits also carry prophetic dreams, but they don't understand it as a gift. They think it's a coincidence or even an emotional charge. Only it isn't, it's spiritual. Some of these dreams are full of sensations. You wake up sweating with your heart racing with vivid images that seem real. Sometimes they are alerts. Other times they are deliverances. Sometimes it is as if you are being trained in the spirit while you sleep, as if you are participating in something greater than you can understand. This is not fiction. This is spiritual reality, and the chosen by God, they are experiencing this more and more. Because times are changing and the gifts are being activated. You may think, but why me? Why do I have these dreams and visions that I didn't ask for? The answer is simple, even if difficult to accept, because you have a calling, because there is a spiritual mission about your life. And the more you try to escape, the more these signs intensify, because heaven is insisting. God is insisting. His spirit was scarred. His path was separated. And what was once just sensitivity now begins to reveal itself as a gift. That's why even without understanding, you feel like you don't belong in this world. That's why you never quite fit in. That's why your soul cries out for something greater, because a spiritual key has been placed within you, and every experience, every dream, every weight you feel is like a piece of a divine puzzle that is only now beginning to come together. And I know it can be lonely living this. Sometimes you want to share, but you are afraid of being called mystical, esoteric, strange. But no, you are not alone. There are thousands, perhaps millions, awakening now, feeling the same signs, having the same dreams, carrying the same weights, because the chosen are being brought together. The invisible army is being activated, and you are part of it. There are days when you talk to someone, and then it feels like you've been carrying the weight of an entire week. The person talks, and you listen. Sometimes it's not even that deep of a conversation, but when it leaves, you feel like you've been drained from the inside. The body feels heavy, the head hurts, the spirit sinks. It feels like something has been taken from you. And you try to understand what happened, but there is no logical explanation. The truth is that this type of burnout isn't physical, it's spiritual. This often happens to those who carry the gift of discernment of spirits, because your spirit is not just listening to words. It is absorbing frequencies, intentions, atmospheres. And when a person is spiritually charged, full of hurt, envy, anger, or even demonic oppression, something inside you notices. You try to keep the peace. You try to welcome. You try to help. But in the end, it's as if she leaves a part of what she was carrying on you, you chosen by God. They are often like spiritual sponges. And that's not weakness. It's high sensitivity. It is spiritual perception. Your energy is valuable. That's why so many come closer just to release it. And often, unintentionally, they don't even realize what they are doing. But your spirit feels it because you have been set apart to see beyond what is said. And that includes understanding when someone is talking one way, but feeling another. Or when what the person needs is not even advice, but liberation. That's why you often prefer to be alone. It's not selfishness, it is spiritual protection. It's because your vibrational field, your sensitive frequency, cannot sustain itself amidst too much noise, too much load, too much pressure. And the further you advance in your awakening, the more selective you become, because you realize that if you keep trying to support other people's world, you will lose yourself from your own calling. And here comes another profound sign. A sign that few people can put into words, but that perhaps you know well. You know, when someone comes close to you, they seem normal. They don't say anything too much. But something inside you starts screaming. It's not anger. It's not judgment. It's a spiritual nuisance. As if your spirit recognized oppression in the other person. As if detecting an invisible prison. You feel tight, a strange heat in the chest, an internal turmoil. Sometimes it's even difficult to breathe. It's not that the person is bad. It's not that. It's just that she's oppressed. And your gift recognizes this immediately. This kind of perception is so intense that you have to hide it because the other person doesn't understand. He doesn't feel what you feel. But you already know there is something spiritual happening there. And this is confirmed later sometimes with a confession, an outburst, or an unexpected emotional outburst. And you remember the feeling you had as soon as she got close. When this happens too many times, you start to doubt your sanity. You begin to wonder if you are exaggerating, if you are judging too much. But it isn't, because this is the sixth sense of the chosen ones. This is the sound a spirit makes when it recognizes another spirit in distress. And this is where you begin to understand why you were separated. People with this gift are strategically placed by God in specific situations. It's no coincidence that you were in that place. It wasn't luck that I crossed paths with that person. God uses his gifts to touch, alert, free, even if you don't even notice the impact. Sometimes you just need to be present for a spiritual battle to begin, because the light you carry bothers what is hidden in the darkness. But it gets tiring that ways. This demands it, because you're not always ready. You don't always understand. Sometimes all you wanted was a day of peace. But then something happens, someone enters, something changes, and your spirit becomes alert. It's as if the gift has a mind of its own, as if your spiritual sensitivity has eyes, ears, and a voice, even when you want silence. And this is where you begin to understand that spiritual discernment is not just a skill, it's a responsibility, a mission, a prophetic mark of the chosen ones, a tool of spiritual warfare placed within you to identify what is hidden, protect what is holy, and free what is trapped. Now maybe you understand why you felt so different since you were a child. Because it is more sensitive, more observant, more intuitive. Because he always felt like something was happening around him even when no one saw anything. Because your soul has been shaped to perceive and your spirit has been trained to react. You have been empowered in silence, separated in pain, and activated by sensitivity. And everything you thought was exaggeration was just your gift trying to awaken. Have you ever noticed how it seems like you're always tired, even without exerting physical effort, as if the weight of the day was not just on the body but on the soul? He wakes up already exhausted. And it's not just sleep, it's not just stress, it's a tiredness that comes from within, as if the spirit is carrying something that no one sees. You try to explain it to others, but they don't understand. They say, it's anxiety. They say it's a lack of rest, but you know it's different. It's not just emotional fatigue. It's like something is being demanded of you all the time, as if you were always connected to something invisible, on constant alert. An internal tension that does not dissipate, even in silence. And sometimes you even doubt yourself. Am I getting sick? Am I exaggerating? But it isn't. This tiredness, this silent overload has a name, it has roots, and it has purpose. The name of this is spiritual weight of an activated gift, and the purpose of this is greater than you imagine. God does not place deep discernment on anyone. Because discerning the spiritual world, feeling people's burdens, understanding what's behind what is said, all of this requires spiritual strength. But this strength does not come from comfort. It is born from pain. Most of those chosen go through deep internal processes that disconnect them from the common world. It is as if God allowed them to walk through dark places, not to be overcome, but to understand what the light is. Your pain was not punishment. It was preparation. Maybe you have been hurt by people you loved, betrayed, silenced, rejected since childhood, and no one saw the damage it did, because you always smiled. He was always kind. He always tried to keep everything in order, but inside he carried silent battles. I cried without knowing why. I missed something I never experienced, and I couldn't even explain why. But what if I told you that this was all part of your breakup? God hides the chosen ones. He takes them out of the common flow of life. He allows specific pains because he will use these wounds as keys that open doors that no one else can open. And the spiritual discernment that you carry was born there in the silence of your pain, in the scream you never let out, in solitude that seemed like punishment, but was consecration, because it is not possible to discern the invisible without first having been wounded in the invisible. Only those who have felt the wars that no one sees understand spiritual battles. That's why you feel what you feel. That's why you pick up on other people's pain. This is why you perceive charges, lies, presences, intentions, because you've been through it all. And he survived. You were trained without knowing it, cut in silence, molded in pain. And now your spirit knows. He recognizes it. He feels, and sometimes it overwhelms you. Because it is not easy to carry gifts that have not been understood or taught. You didn't learn that in church. You didn't hear that at school. No one explained to you that there was a gift being forged in you. They just called you too sensitive. They just said you were different. But you were, you are. And this is not a defect. This is a sign of separation. The chosen ones experienced specific pain. And if you feel like your life has never been easy, that things have always been more difficult for you, that relationships have always been intense or confusing, then maybe you're starting to understand, because spiritual discernment is also activated by frustration, for failure, for abandonment. It's as if God said, before you can see others, you'll have to see yourself. Before you can discern spiritual battles, you'll have to win yours. And that's what you did when, without even realizing it, you have overcome things that would destroy other people. And he came out of it more sensitive, more attentive, deeper. This is not weakness, this is a gift. And the most powerful thing is that now you can be the answer. Yes, you. What once hurt you today empowers you to heal. What hurt you now gives you authority. The pain didn't disappear for nothing. It became discernment. It became a spiritual vision. And it will become liberation for others, because you carry a gift that is not just for feeling. It serves to free. But that's the hardest part, isn't it? When you realize that even though you are hurt, God wants to use you. Even tired, he calls. You, even wounded, he whispers. You are the answer. And something inside you recognizes this. Something wakes up. Something pulses, because you always knew, always felt. I just didn't understand it yet. And that's why all this wait is not in vain. This is why even in silence you continue to feel that you are being prepared. There is a mission in you. There is a purpose in your sensitivity. There is a hidden calling in your story. And it all starts when you stop rejecting this tiredness and start understanding it as a spiritual language. There comes a moment in the journey when you realize what you carry is not a burden. It is a calling. What seemed to hinder you make you different. Strange isolated was just the packaging of a spiritual gift that was being forged in the invisible. You don't feel too much by accident. You don't notice what no one else mistakenly notices. You carry something that is yours, but that was not given just to you. And that something is discernment of spirits. This gift is a key that opens spiritual portals, that reveals the hidden, that exposes what is hidden, not to condemn but to heal. This gift is sensitive, but it is not fragile. He's sharp, he is intense. It is divinely tuned for times like Theonies we are living in. In a world where everything is appearance, where everything is manipulation, where the spiritual is distorted, the gift of discernment becomes like a prophetic scent who protects, guides, and guides the chosen ones. And maybe you've lived too, long thinking you were just another ordinary person trying to survive. But it's not because the chosen were not created to fit in. They were shaped to awaken. You feel it in your body, in your spirit, in your way of thinking. You don't watch this video by chance. You didn't get here by accident. There is a divine urgency calling you, because the gift you carry needs to be activated, needs to be understood, needs to be used for what God has entrusted to you. And the first step is to recognize you were separated. Yes, separate. To discern, to warn, to deliver. Spiritual. Discernment is not a spiritual ornament nor a fancy title. It's a responsibility. It is the ability to look at the invisible and see clearly what others ignore. It's as if heaven has entrusted you with a special lens so that you can see spiritual warfare beyond words, beyond smiles, beyond gestures. But this gift also requires maturity, because it's not for judgment. It's not about pointing out mistakes, it's to free. It is to intercede. It's to protect. And that's exactly why you feel so tired around certain people, so charged in certain places, so restless when something is spiritually wrong, because God is using you. Because your sensitivity isn't random, it's intentional. And the most beautiful thing about it all, it's just that you don't need to understand everything now. You don't need to be ready. God has already chosen you the way you are. The process has already begun, activation is already happening, and the more you recognize this gift, the more it will develop. Stronger he will become. Your purpose will become clearer. So breathe, sit down, allow, receive, because your spiritual journey is not starting here. She's only revealing herself now, and that changes everything. You are not weak. You are spiritual. You are not exaggerated. You are deep. You are not lost. You are a channel between dimensions. You are not ordinary. You are a chosen one. And if your spirit felt this while listening to these words, then now is the time to truly declare what already pulses within you. Right here in the comments, I have this gift and I am awakening. It's not just a sentence. It is a spiritual confirmation. It is a positioning before the invisible world. It is the sound of your soul saying yes to the call. Share this video with someone who feels too much, who keeps saying they are tired for no reason, who has strange dreams, quick visions, goosebumps in common places. Perhaps this person is experiencing a spiritual awakening and does not understand what is happening. Maybe she thinks she's going crazy when in fact she's being turned on. Be an instrument of this. Bring that light to her. And if you've made it this far, know this channel is a portal, a place of healing, revelation, deep spiritual awareness. Here, each video is a part of your journey. Every word is a step towards the mission that awaits you. Subscribe now to the Chosen channel. This is your space, this is your time, because you don't carry this gift by chance. You were marked from the womb, prepared in silence, activated by pain. And now you are ready to start using all of this for the purpose that heaven has entrusted to